absolutely trucked from behind. She's ready to do the hit. The whistles are being blown. She takes a...
All right, well, here it is. Backup quarterback. Chandler Harnish throws, and Pam Oliver wham. Let me tell you, that ball had a tight spiral, and it had some humping to be on it. And, hey, Pam, toughest person in this stadium.
Thanks for your guys hitting me in the face with the football.
Oh, yeah, we apologize on that.
This kid is physical. He's strong. I mean, arguably the top offensive lineman this morning in the one-on-ones. I mean, he's out there with a kid like Cameron Robinson. And
all of a sudden, there really have been questions about this defense, which is ranked 21st. Not having Benson is going to hurt. I had an interesting talk with offensive coordinator Tom Butt. Did you guys see that football? I saw it. Anyway.
And I know we're moving fast, get physical out there on the field. And we come at full speed and she's sitting down, taking pictures. I know that kind of hurt her. So I had to make sure she was all right.
What did you say?
No, I just rubbed her head. It looked like I hit her head. Yeah.
That was the hardest a Minnesota Viking has ever hit anybody when they ran that poor guy over.
And Pam Oliver can't stay out of the way.
She's always in the way.
She's kind of annoying anyway. So
yeah, she's no Sage Steele.
She's one of those sideline reporters that is just like, you're like, who did you blow to get here, right? Like,
yeah.
All right. So what all of fan base representations do we have tonight? Because normally it's me with the Packers, Jim with the Falcons, Buck with the Raiders, and Mark is kind of androgynous with his fandom. I'm not sure who he cheers for exactly.
He's wishy-washy.
Yeah.
You're
a Lions
I'm more
fan,
of a...
right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely. Lions.
And then Jay Forte is a big Dolphins fan, so he's riding high coming out of the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And then Trey, who's your team?
I'm a Rams fan.
Oh,
Rams.
okay.
Sadly, I'm a Rams fan. So I haven't gotten to see anything, for a couple years.
Well, since the way we do this is we start for those of you who are new, aka all three of you, we start with the college action. So speaking of sadder fan bases than even Rams fans, the entire state of Colorado after this weekend. Let's you want to start with that ass whooping that Oregon put on Colorado. Like, even were y'all surprised? How about that?
I was not surprised at all. I expected that. Like, Colorado was fun, but who had they played? Like, they didn't play any real football teams. Like, they played a real team and got shellacked, and it was
Right.
They struggled against Colorado State. Like, if they're struggling against Colorado State, now if they had blown out Colorado State, then maybe I would have said, okay, they're gonna at least be somewhat competitive, like with Oregon. I still think Oregon would basically double them up, but
yeah.
But
they got
crushed.
They
wouldn't have won, but they did lose their best offensive weapon the week before.
Yeah,
They might have got an extra touchdown or two.
Yes, but they're defensively they were bad. Like,
so bad.
Yeah, him being in the game was not going to make a significant
Oregon
difference.
walked to the end zone. Literally walking to the end zone, basically. Well, I mean, they pass more, but
Oregon went up 35-0 at the half, and then after that, they were just like, okay, we don't actually have to play football the rest of the game. Like, we can just kind of stand around.
Did you guys see Oregon's head coach's speech before the game?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was pretty good. He's like, they're here for here for
Playing for
clicks,
clicks.
and we're here to win games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. He was fiery, which they talked about that after the game. Like he did a good job all week of not saying anything like publicly. Don't give them any billboard material, which you want to see that from your coach anyway, especially if you're going into a game like that against a team like Colorado with a coach like Dion. You don't want your players chirping. You don't want your coaches chirping. You show up on Saturday and you get the job done. Like you don't give them any motivation to show up and play hard. Like
yeah, it's like playing against since I'm from Alabama, every time that teams play against Saban, they always play into like if they start talking before the matchup, like the coaches start saying stuff about the matchup, then it always kind of just jinxes them. Even if they would have had a good week, just let them go out there and play and do what they're going to do against those kind of teams, especially if you feel like you can take them, like Oregon against Colorado in those kind of circumstances.
Well, like Colorado, like I think Colorado bought into their own hype. Like they thought they were coming into that game. They thought they were coming into that game evenly matched with Oregon, and that they had every bit of a shot to win that they had in the first 3 weeks of the season. When anybody who was like actually paying attention, I don't know, what was the line on that game before the game? I didn't even bother to check.
I think they were like 21-point dogs.
Like the real experts understand how that shit works. Like I think Colorado was coming into that game thinking that they were on even playing field, but they were most certainly not. And
no,
but you don't give a team like that any added motivation during the week. You just let them think that they're coming in even playing field, that we are, we're both top 25 teams, and there's no difference in us. You've got a shot to knock us off like you did TCU, which was a fluke game with exactly no tape whatsoever on Colorado or what Deion's going to do with Colorado or really any of the play. I mean, there was
a bunch of the players,
a bunch of new players.
Well, I mean, and TCU just looked really bad that week. They
looked terrible.
That's what
struggled moving the ball. Like they couldn't convert when they needed to. I mean,
didn't TCU lose like a lot of their team this past
they lost
season?
quite a few players too. Yeah, yeah, they're not the same team from last year.
Yeah, TCU lost a lot of really good players, and they're not the same team. And also, that was probably the worst football game they'll play all season, unless they face Georgia again, like in the playoffs or something. But that was probably their worst game all season. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a fluky thing. If Colorado loses that week 1 game, we don't talk about Colorado at any point all season. Like whatever Deion chirps, that'll get some attention, and as a team, they would get completely overlooked. But here we are.
Yeah. How about them? They got USC next week. How do you think that's
Colorado does?
Yeah. Oh. They're at USC.
What's the I don't know what the over/under on that is and the line on that. And I mean, is it gonna be a bigger blowout than Oregon? Because Oregon in the first half looked like they wanted to put that old school, like you need to run the score up to make sure that you get a good bowl game, like back before we had the playoff, like back in BCS days. Oregon looked like they were trying to put that kind of an ass whooping on them early on, and then once they got a lead, then they took their foot off the gas in the second half and just kind of coasted. But Oregon probably could have scored 80 points in that game if they wanted to.
It looks like the over/under on that game on USC Colorado is 21-5. So
that's the spread.
That's the spread.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what points bet. Yeah, that's what points bet. DraftKings are saying.
Okay.
So it's going to be every bit as bad as the Oregon game. It'll be entertaining. I mean, Colorado was a
I
feel-good
don't
story
think
for a week or
USC
two,
is
but
quite as good as Oregon. I feel like Oregon's a little bit stronger, but
Well, USC has a better offense, I think, or
I
could.
don't.
Like they could put up more points. Like their
Yeah,
defense might not be as good, but
yeah.
right. Colorado might put up a few more points, but
they might
USC
get.
will probably also put up
Yeah, they're
quite
gonna
a
hang
few more
70
points.
on them. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna look more like the Dolphins versus Broncos.
yeah,
Well,
it could get really ugly.
we talked about playing their best game and their worst game in the first game of the season, and I kind of felt that about LSU Florida State. What did y'all think of the? Did y'all happen to catch any of the Florida State Clemson game?
I thought Clemson had a shot, but they made a shit ton of mistakes.
Yeah, I only caught a little bit of that game.
That was some of the worst coaching down the stretch by both teams that I think I've ever seen. Like, I'm sitting there going, "What are you doing? Why are you why aren't we using our timeouts? Why aren't we stretching the field? What are y'all doing?" At first I thought it was just maybe Dabo's incompetent without a top flight quarterback, and then Florida State would get the ball back and they do the exact same dumb shit. It's like, well, maybe it's just ACC coaching. I don't know. It was bad, but yeah, I mean, Clemson was in that and should have won by all means. There was that the game that there was a pretty questionable call that went Florida State's way that set them up to score at the end.
It was a pass interference call, wasn't it?
Yeah. There were some things in that game that, I mean, as a team, you have to put yourself in position to win, not put yourself in the position to not lose. And Clemson had every opportunity in the world to win that game and failed to do so every single time. So it's not like, I mean, you can't blame it on one call by the ref. Like, they fucked themselves, but they didn't get.
That's why you get 2 scores ahead, right? That's kind of the motto, right? You want to be 2 scores ahead.
Clemson also screwed up clocking the ball at the end too. That's why it went into overtime.
Yep. Everything about that was dumb. But I thought Florida State played their best game of the season week 1 against LSU, and I also thought LSU had probably their worst game of the season in week 1, and I haven't been really sold on Florida State as this powerhouse that's going to be top 4 team in the country and going to go to the playoff or whatever. I don't see them being that good this year. If they hold the team together, maybe next year, but I don't feel like they're that this year. And I think this Clemson game kind of showed that. Like, the fact that Clemson was in it like this the whole time, even though Clemson is not good. And Corey, our buddy friend of the morning show, he is from South Carolina. He's a big Clemson fan. We have been texting that morning. He was like, "We're about to get our asses whooped by Florida State." I said, "This is going to be a good game." I said, I don't think Florida State is as good as what the hype has made them out to be. I think you might find yourself in this game.
Ironically, I think either the Virginia Tech or the Duke game probably more likely the Duke game. As much as I don't think the Duke is really all that good, I think that they may expose kind of Florida State's flaws.
Growing up being around Virginia Tech football, they have a history of blowing it against teams they should beat and somehow pulling out of their ass a game they should lose. So, although I think that game's actually in Tallahassee. So, I mean, if they were actually going into Blacksburg, I think Virginia Tech might have a better chance at an upset. But we'll see. How about the Blue Devils? They're undefeated.
I'd say I do think the Duke is an underrated football team this year. What were some of the other big games over the weekend? Anybody watch much Bama Ole Miss? That's one of those. As a Mississippi State fan, I always kind of hope that the stadium collapses and just wipes out both teams. But I've been cheering for that for like 20 years, and it hadn't happened yet. One of these days, though.
Yeah, you'll get your wish.
Yeah, but anyway, I thought Ole Miss was going to. Ole Miss always shows up and plays really hard against Alabama, and I thought Ole Miss was going to really make a game of it. They had a lot of really dumb mistakes, and while Alabama's offensive line doesn't look like that just powerhouse offensive line of
like
previous
4 or 5
years.
years ago.
Yeah, there were a lot of missed blocks. There were a lot of big holes that were opened up for defensive players to get through and rush their quarterback and get in the backfield and stop the running backs. But whenever they were firing and whenever they were hitting and playing well, they looked really good in that game. That the two running backs they've got, Williams and anyway, the two running backs they've got, those
penalties too. Like,
the two running backs are amazing. I don't like Alabama's quarterback, but he delivered the ball well enough when he needed to, which has always kind of been the staple of an Alabama quarterback. Like, you don't have to be the guy who's going to win the game. You just can't be the guy who's going to lose the game. And
with Tua being the exception. Tua being the exception. Who was the quarterback? There was a couple of quarterbacks before Tua.
You will never remember their names because they were the definitive game managers.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything impressive. They just never fucked it up. They made sure that you were always in position to win.
Hand off the ball, don't fumble, and make passes when you have to.
Right. Hit those like top flight athletes that Alabama brings in at wide receiver and let them hit them in stride and let them do what they do well.
Throw them a curl route and then let them take off.
Which Bama doesn't really have a whole lot of those this year either. Like, they've got the one freshman, Hale, I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, they've got the one freshman that was he looked really good, and outside of that, their receiving core isn't anything impressive. Usually, they've got some studs out on the outside that can.
Yeah,
really
they always seem to have somebody.
Yeah, they don't seem to have that this year. So it's I expected better out of Ole Miss, and Alabama definitely didn't impress me. I felt like Ole Miss just wasn't as good in that game as what Alabama was.
I guess we can talk about can we talk about the other side, I guess, of the Alabama dynamic? Auburn. Oh God, dude.
I thought you were gonna say Alabama State.
I mean, we could talk about that, but
that was awesome.
Dark side of Alabama.
They're still letting Auburn play football?
They probably shouldn't. I mean, Hugh Freeze. Oh my God! People thought Hugh Freeze was going to be like this savior of Auburn football, but oh my God, this mismanagement of the quarterback situation in particular, is so annoying because they should just pick somebody, stick with it. I know he doesn't want to play favorites or whatever, I guess, in this whole situation, but pick somebody and go with it. He keeps flip flopping on who he wants it to be, and it's just not working. And I mean, their defense isn't doing anything to help him out. So.
Sorry, I would love to contribute to this, but I have not paid any attention to Auburn for at least a few years. I do like Hugh Freeze as I think he as a person seems to he's gone through some things and got his life together, and he was a good coach when he was at Ole Miss. Like, he was one of those coaches that, as a Mississippi State fan, I always hated Ole Miss, but I could respect Hugh Freeze as a coach, which I just absolutely cannot do that with Lane Kiffin. Fuck that guy. So, there's something to be said for it. And it's possible, but man, being in the SEC West, that's always going to be an uphill battle. It's why Mississippi State can't ever seem to get past being mediocre, because as long as you're in the West, you're always going to have Alabama.
East, it's a cruise.
Right, it's Georgia and the field. And in the West, it's Alabama, it's LSU. Arkansas and Ole Miss are always stout teams, even though they may not get top 25 rankings, but they are always really tough, hard-nosed team.
7-5, 8-4,
And then you got Texas A&M. Like,
how have they talked about how they're going to realign? Because obviously, you would think Oklahoma and Texas would be in the Western if you wanted to actually do it geographically.
as if they want to do it
if you're going to do that, then technically Alabama and Auburn should probably be in the East.
Yeah.
Like, realistically speaking. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how but like Missouri is in the East.
Yeah.
Even though I think that's one of those things in the Southeast Conference. The further north you go, the more likely you are to be lumped in the East. Like the West is the true Southeast, and then
they go by true.
Yeah, you go further north, and
magnetic north.
Yeah, the West is the Confederate States of, and then the East, the Eastern Conference is the more Yankee states.
Yeah, the only other college games I watched.
Magoo said it'll just be the two best teams from the conference that go to the SEC championship. I hate that shit.
Is he joking? I can't tell if Magoo's joking.
So that's the way.
Oh, that's the worst way to do it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I like
that's the way SEC the SEC basketball schedule is done now. They don't do the divisions anymore. It's just the SEC conference, the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, and they do the ranking, they do the seeding and everything for their tournament based on just season period. Like, it doesn't get broken up into the divisions, which I don't like that, but
but I don't know. A basketball tournament is so much different than a conference championship game. Like, you only get one game.
Yeah, but I mean, that's more about the like that's the rankings of the teams in that conference.
Well, I like the way the scheduling is done. Like, it's sort of for the SEC, the way the scheduling is done, it's sort of similar to like the way that the NFL does it, where you're going to play. Yeah, you're going to play everybody in your conference, and then you also have certain divisions that you play against every year. And it rotates. Well, that's the way the SEC schedule has always been done. You're going to play everybody in your division. Like, everybody in the West is going to play everybody in the West. Everybody in the East is going to play everybody in the East. And then you have like
Auburn plays Georgia at the end of the season usually.
Right. You have the guaranteed games. Like, you have certain crossovers that you're going to play this team from the East. If you're in the West, you're going to play this team from the East every year. And then you're going to play all of the others on a rotation, so that you're like, everybody's always playing each other. So there's still rivalries that get built, but it kind of cycles through.
I think the ACC does that now too.
Yeah, like I always like that, which I guess it gets difficult when you're up to what was it
30 teams?
Yes, 16
that's
teams.
a lot.
Yeah, so I get it. I would like to know how they're going to do the schedule going forward, because those rivalries that get built, if you just go with the conference schedule, then you're not getting to, if as Mississippi State you're not getting to play Kentucky every year, then you kind of lose some of those rivalries. Like, if they're going to do a true rotation between just all 16 teams, then who's going, like,
how are you going to determine who you play?
Does that mean some years you don't get the Egg Bowl or the Iron Bowl? Like, if you start fucking with the
Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl will really people around here will actually riot if they take away the Iron Bowl from the schedule. Like, even Alabama fans who just hate Auburn fans so much that they don't care about Auburn ever. They would be so mad that they aren't getting to play Auburn. Like,
they want that game every year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious of the Big Ten too, with all the changes, like how they're going to realign all that shit.
One kind of cool thing for Texas. One kind of cool thing for Texas.
Like Michigan not playing Ohio State, like that would be stupid.
That'd be insane.
Is we get some of our old Southwest Conference rivals back with A&M and Arkansas.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, there are some definite benefits that come from it, but Texas and Oklahoma, you can use those teams to kind of create some rivalries and build up,
especially after this season.
Yeah,
the first game, Texas beating Alabama, that's probably going to at least be potentially a start of a rivalry there.
Texas looked. I expected the Texas Baylor game to have the potential to be a Florida State Clemson kind of a game, to be closer than anticipated, and Texas beat the fucking brakes off.
Started off slow, but yeah, once they got going.
Yeah, once they started rolling, they just steamrolled, and Baylor didn't seem to have anything going for them.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Y'all mentioned the Big Ten. The last like real exciting game of the weekend was Ohio State and Notre Dame. Did y'all get to catch much of that? That was
I saw like the first half, I think is all I watched.
The way that game ended was very impressive. It was a hard fought game, like both teams.
No, I did catch the end of that. That was the one where the last two plays of the game, Notre Dame only had 10 players on the field for both those. Goal line stand at the end. They had 10 players on the field for the last two plays.
I think that's right. And
also they fucked it up.
Yeah, that was another one of those where, kind of like talking about Clemson, like Notre Dame had some opportunities to close this game out, and they couldn't pull it together. Notre Dame has a very good football team. Notre Dame had the ball back with, I can't remember how much time it was, but like enough time that all they need to do is get a first down, maybe two, and they ought to be able to milk enough clock that Ohio State doesn't have a realistic chance to come back and get in it. And so I went and did, I don't know, I wasn't gone from my desk for more than a few minutes, like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. I come back and they've already punted the ball. Ohio State has the ball back. That's like, good God, that was the fastest 3 and out in human history. Like, at least try to milk some clock. What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they thought that if they just punt it back and let them go with it, that they couldn't do anything with it.
I'm all for having faith in your defense, but if your offense has an opportunity to put them away, then you do that.
Yeah, don't put your defense in that situation.
Especially if you're only going to leave 10 men on the field.
Yeah. They were counting on touchdown Jesus to help them out.
It does signal, like, the fact that, like you said, Notre Dame's pretty good this year. So, I think that the Ohio State-Michigan game is going to be really good because both of those teams look like they're on a pretty good streak right now.
Michigan's looked good, but I have not been nothing impressive. Like, they've done what they're supposed to do, but they haven't, like, I haven't been blown away by any of it. But I think the most they've only given up, I think 7 points is the most they've given up in a game. So they look good, but I don't know. They've scored 35, 36 points every game.
We'll probably get to see this week when they go against Nebraska more so than anything
a little more
else.
of an actual test.
Yeah. That and once I would say probably by the Michigan State game you'll be able to know if they're pretenders or contenders at that point.
Well, Michigan State's a fucking dumpster fire right now. Like, they just had to fire their coach for, I think it was rape accusations or something. They got all kinds of shit going on. Like, they're in big trouble.
That was quick. It took them a while to get rid of that girls' gymnastics trainer or doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, and this guy, they caught him a lot faster, I guess.
Lord.
I actually heard that doctor got stabbed in the neck in prison. That was cool.
Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Yeah,
poor guy.
He lived, though.
Good for him.
You got to go for the aorta.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Somebody probably stabbed him in the neck and was like, be prepared. Because the next thing that stabs you in the throat is not going to be the knife. This is going to be the rest of your life. So, wanted to get the worst of it out of the way first, so that you can enjoy the rest. Appreciate.
They're trying to expand his throat a little bit, so you can,
Relax the jaw.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, I got nothing else for college. The only other game I watched was North Carolina against Pitt, and well, we knew North Carolina was going to beat them. I think Mac Brown's got something going on well there. But Drake May's kind of a nice quarterback.
Let's see. We got anything entertaining coming up in this week's games? I don't. I mean, USC Colorado, but that's not going to be a game. Michigan Nebraska, Georgia Auburn, but I mean, LSU Ole Miss. That's probably going to be a hell of a game. Notre Dame Duke. I think so. Duke is, as Jay had mentioned earlier, Duke's undefeated. I think this will be their first like real legitimate test. And Notre Dame is a very good team. The Pac-12 has some really interesting storylines going on with some of the non-USC Oregon teams, like putting up a lot of points and having some very impressive offenses. But with the Pac-12 basically defunct, does anybody actually care? It's like they're kind of in this weird state of limbo.
I mean, the only teams that people care about are USC and Oregon. Like,
yeah, that's basically it.
I mean, maybe there's a few Cal fans out there somewhere, you know, like, who roots for Cal, honestly. Like, I don't know.
What's going to happen to the teams that are left in the Pac-12? Because I mean,
yeah, I was just going to ask, isn't there only like 2 of them that haven't already said?
It's one of the Washingtons, isn't it? Or are both the Washingtons going to the Big Ten?
I think just Washington, not Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State is one of them that's like being left out in the cold.
Yeah, it was Washington State, and I don't remember who the other one was, but there's 2 teams that just nobody's taken them yet.
Hawaii. I don't know. Is Hawaii the Pac-12?
No.
I missed those whack late night games.
Oregon State? Are they the other one?
It might be.
Yeah, Oregon State.
I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, so that's on the docket for this weekend. We might actually do we've been teasing it for the last 3 weeks and haven't done it yet. We might actually do a Saturday morning college football conversation on here. We'll see, because we do have some Utah plays Oregon State on Friday, so that has the potential to be a good game. So we might can do a recap of that on Saturday and talk about some of the games that are coming up. Hopefully I'm really interested in the LSU Ole Miss, Notre Dame Duke. I think those are going to be really, really good games. And I'll be at work on Saturday night, hopefully able to watch at least one of them.
Auburn's playing Georgia.
Yeah, but does that count?
Yeah.
Mississippi State's playing Alabama. Like, I already know how that's going to end up. We couldn't even beat fucking South Carolina. Jesus.
Get spanked.
Yeah, I'm just kind of hoping that Mississippi State will be bad. I didn't like this guy as a defensive coordinator. I liked him even less as the head coach pick. I'm hoping they'll be just completely abysmal. They'll fire him and go find a good coach to move the program forward from what Leach had kind of built on it. And but you never know.
Maybe they can fire Hugh Freeze at Auburn, and then he can go to coach at Mississippi State.
I would be okay with that, honestly. That's kind of my life these days. Is it's fine, everything's fine. Green Bay won again. Why are they winning games? Just stop fucking winning.
It'll stop Thursday. Don't worry about it.
They're gonna disappoint me again.
No, if you want losses, you'll get one Thursday. Don't worry about it.
I hope you're right, but the history of Green Bay playing against Detroit on Thursdays has been that Green Bay does particularly well in those.
These are different Green Bay and Detroit teams.
Yeah, well,
and it's not a Thanksgiving game.
Yeah,
you know, we say that about the college rivalries too, and every year, even if Mississippi State comes into the game 0-11 and Ole Miss is coming in at 10-1, it doesn't matter what the records are, what the teams look like. It's going to be a slugfest, and that's the way some.
I don't expect this to be an easy game for the Lions by any means. Like, I expect it to be close. Like, because the Packers have looked pretty good. Love looks legit. Like, which I fucking hate. I'm so sick of good quarterbacks in Green Bay. I'm ready to fucking puke. It's been my entire life, dude. It's been my whole life. Like,
I mean, you know,
it's
you have
crazy.
You have Favre.
I mean, not my whole life, but as long as I can remember, like,
he leaves.
I can't
Aaron
highlight
Rodgers.
comments, but like going back to the whole Michigan State thing. Do you see what Stephen Austin's last one was? I don't know if you highlighted that one.
I got static.
Goon, that's yours. You got static coming through. There we go. You're better now.
Please tell me that's true.
yes,
I mean, it's terrible for the chick.
Yeah, it was a chick like talking about sexual harassment, and he apparently harassed her, which is just awesome, really.
Fucking Chad.
Yeah, like what a move. Like
he just did that out of spite.
Detroit's favored on the road in Green Bay, which I don't like. That just feels weird. Detroit's -1.5.
It's a bad
at
omen.
Green Bay. Yeah,
that's a bad omen.
Kind of scares me.
Let's see. Anything to really talk about for like this past week's games? I mean, there were a couple games that were just like insane blowouts. You know, the state of Colorado had a bad weekend.
Had a rough
Miami had an opportunity to set the NFL single game scoring record and instead chose to be pussies about it.
Yeah, we had to bring Mike White in the fourth quarter to really shut him down.
Did you see?
Shut your offense down?
He scored a touchdown.
What's the player's name? They asked him about like if he thought they should have kicked the field goal, and he said once he saw Chosen,
yeah, he was like,
I saw 70. I thought like I wanted 100.
Yeah, he's like, we should have gone for 100. Fuck that.
That's what I like.
See, that should be your mentality every time. Like, is if you're not running the score up, like I don't know why people like make that a sportsmanship thing. Like it's
well, I can understand it maybe if it's like little kids, but this is pros. Like run the fucking score up. These are grown men; they can handle it.
And I'm very bitter and tribal when it comes to teams. And if I could have taken a record away from the Redskins, I would have gladly done it.
There you
go. Like it's like you said, they're professionals. It is not our job to make you feel better about your failure. Like
no,
if you,
not at all.
It's not up to us to stop ourselves from scoring. It's your job to stop us from scoring. And if you can't do that, sucks to be you. Be better.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it's your job to score. So keep doing that. Like, I didn't like it. I mean, the field goal at the end might have been a little much, but it would have been awesome anyway. I don't care. Like,
they should have been pushing it down They should have been pushing it down the field and trying to score a touchdown with like 30 seconds to go, and really tried to like
put a stamp on it, like kind of thing. Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, like the way Colorado was steamrolling, or the way Oregon was steamrolling Colorado in the first half of that game. Like, don't take your foot off the gas. Like, the old BCS style. Like every win has to be a statement win. So if you can score 100 points, then you're going to score 100 points, so that everybody knows you are the best team in the fucking country. And
see, that's one of the things I was talking about with Michigan. They've done the same thing. Like, they'll be up a bunch at halftime, and then their starters might play a drive or two in the third, and then they pull all the offensive starters. It's like, no, go out and put 70 on these dudes. Put up, like, you're up 35-0, whatever. Keep going. Like, don't.
Well, the Eagles kind of did. The Eagles kind of did that last year. Like, I was never particularly sold on or convinced that the Eagles were that good last year, because they would get up by like 2 scores in the first half, and then they would just take their foot off the gas, and they would look unimpressive for usually like 2/3 of the game. They looked like an unimpressive team, but they would run out to a quick lead where that they didn't have to, and it never left me feeling good about Philadelphia as a team. And they did that shit week 1 too. Like they've been better since then, like I feel more confident in saying that the Eagles are actually a really good football team this year than I did last year. But
Yeah.
also maybe because I learned that lesson from last year. But and you saw that a lot over the
I mean,
weekend.
Jalen Hurts has been like he's been playing really, really good.
Yeah, he looks crazy good.
So let's see. We had there were a couple.
We had a
like
few
big,
weird upsets last week.
I was gonna say there were a couple big blowout games. Buffalo just absolutely blew the doors off of Washington. Kansas City beat the brakes off of the Bears. Not that surprised anybody. And then
Cleveland kicked the shit out of the Titans.
I expected the Titans to show up better than that. They couldn't move
Kansas
the ball
City.
at all. Yeah, we said Kansas City. Miami beat Denver.
Kelsey had to get his touchdown, because of the whole Taylor Swift thing.
I am so sick of fucking hearing about Taylor Swift.
They kept me competitive against you. You still only beat me by 2.
Yeah, that's. Oh man,
it's the only thing I can thank Taylor Swift for.
And then the AFC South pulling a couple shockers. I guess one of them was AFC South in division game, but Houston upsetting Jacksonville, and then the Colts upsetting Baltimore. Those were 2 interesting games.
How about the Cardinals taking it to the Cowboys?
Yeah.
That was probably the one that surprised me the most, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dak still looks like he's struggling, but I don't think it's all Dak's fault. Like a lot of people are pinning the blame on Dak, but I don't know if it's what they're trying to do with that offensive system is the problem, or what's going on with the way that But everybody seems to all the Dallas fans seem to want to be. They're trying to figure out is it Dak's problem, or is it I don't know what's going on.
See, Dak was at his best with the way Dan Mullen ran that spread offense. It was a very timing based offense, which I've talked about this for the past couple of weeks when I was talking about the Jets and the way the Jets offense was set up. It was not a good offense for an Aaron Rodgers style of player. And Mike McCarthy's offense, even though Dak is a very good runner, he is not built for that McCarthy spread it, move move the pocket. Dak is at his best when he's able to hit timing routes, run through progressions, have good protection, get his reads. And that's not a McCarthy offense. So it's kind of a blending of styles that doesn't always work. And the fact that it doesn't look worse than it does is because Dak is very athletic, so he still has some ability with that, but that's not what he does. That's not him at his best. And so I think that doesn't help. And then if in the first, couple weeks when the Dallas defense got their ears pinned back and just absolutely ransacking the other team, then you've got some opportunity for that offense to not look great, and you're still hitting it in stride. When the defense doesn't look as good like this weekend, then it really emphasizes the struggles of that offense.
Yeah, that defense this weekend made Dobbs look awesome. He tore him apart. It was crazy to watch this dude that's just been a backup journeyman, and he looked incredible for the Cardinals.
Well, and then also Dallas lost that corner Friday or Saturday
Diggs.
Yeah. And that was a big blow to them. At that point, you don't really have. I mean, you suspect that he's going to be might be out, but then to have him be out for the season,
he's out for the year. Yeah,
that changes your mentality a lot. And he was a very important piece of that defense in the first 2 weeks of the season. So that changes your dynamic quite a bit. It's hard to adjust for that in the course of a week. So see if it changes, and if Dallas has a better game plan this week.
I'm sure I'll hear all the intricacies about this when I go up to visit family here in a few weeks. Like me and my dad and uncle were all Dolphins fans, but my mom's and most of her family is Cowboys, and most of my dad's is Redskins fans. So I'm going to be hearing it from like both angles going up there.
Let's see. Was there anything else on this past week's docket? Cincinnati finally got a win, but
Yep, not impressive though.
I'd say it wasn't
Burrow's
good.
not looking hot.
Like it was one of those like somebody had to win the game kind of things.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was rough.
It's like
What do you guys think about the 2 Monday night games?
I
personally hate it. I hate it.
I don't like the way they're doing it with them being staggered. We talked about this last week too, like, and Alan Mosley's been all over it as well. Like, if you're gonna do 2 Monday night games, you have the first game and then you have the second game. This dumbass like staggering, overlapping.
I hate it. Yeah, I don't want to have to switch between 2 games. It's Monday night. I'm watching the game that's on. Like,
yeah, it fucking
annoying.
sucks.
I've not enjoyed that.
Well, when they first started doing that, they would always like they didn't stagger them, and they would have like West Coast teams go for the late games, which makes sense.
Yeah, and they just start a game late. Like,
Did they just start doing that like this year? Because like I took like when we started having kids, I just kind of stopped following sports as much. Like when did they start?
They just started that this year, doing the 2 games on Monday.
Well, they did that a few times, like a few years back.
I was gonna say they've done opening weekend. They'll do 2 games.
That's what it was.
On other like there are other occasions during the season where they'll have 2 games on the same night, but they've never staggered them like this. They've always been it's the first game, and then when the game ends, the next game starts. You don't have big gaps in between. You have the 2 games, but they're 2 very distinctly different games. Not this like overlapping the start times where the first game starts or the second game starts an hour after the first game, and so now
are they at least playing on separate channels?
No, it's still on. They're both on ESPN, right?
No, one's on ABC and one's ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and say one of them's on either ABC or ESPN Plus, and then the other.
I can watch one of them at least because I don't have cable.
ESPN.
I wish I'd have known that.
Yeah, I don't have cable either, but I just find them for free on the internet.
Well, we'll talk later.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
But yeah, I feel like having 2 games on Monday Night Football, like the whole point of Monday Night Football was to have a game, a staple, like the game.
Yeah,
of
that's
the
what you
week
do with primetime games. Like Monday night's the same thing. Like there's the one game going on.
Yeah,
they're trying to oversaturate it, just like this whole bullshit where they're trying to push into Europe. Like we need to expand into Europe and have more teams there. I mean, you guys are just going to oversaturate the product.
Like,
does Europe even really
is whatever? But, no, they can't. You can't possibly have a team in Europe. Can you imagine being the team that has to travel from Europe all the time?
Yeah,
that'd fucking suck. Like,
I mean, unless they they could have a parallel league and then have a quote unquote world championship, at the end. But that would still feel like
they tried that before. They actually had the World Football League. Yeah. And then it turned into being like basically like the JV development league for the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and when you've got like essentially 3 leagues now in the U.S. that are if you count the USFL
no, they just merged.
Trey, if you keep talking about,
I just saw a thing about it.
Start calling you Carlos.
I just saw a thing saying they're going to merge the USFL and the XFL.
No way. USFL and XFL merge. Well, I mean that kind of makes sense to me because USFL wasn't getting. I think XFL had better viewership from what I could tell, and USFL.
Well, they got The Rock, so
yeah, makes sense. But having a development league in the US, I think is good though for having one of those kind of leagues for developing.
I tried to watch last year. It's not good. It's just bad football. Like. Occasionally, a player or 2 might come out of there, but it's not good.
You watch, you watch college football, and it seems like such a better experience.
Better
product.
You guys seen any of the
old XFL? That was great.
You guys seen any of the waiver wire moves that might be going on?
If you're talking about Kaepernick, I mean that's not happening.
No, it's trying to be funny.
I mean, any day now, Kaepernick is going to get signed, you guys.
Come on, they already
Any day.
photoshopped him into a jersey.
I can't believe they're still trying. Like, how long has it been that he's been out of the league? It's been like 6 or 7 years.
7 years.
That's crazy. Like, there's no
Since
way.
2016, basically. I mean, was it 2016 or 2017? I don't know if it was it. I can't remember if it was the
But
beginning.
Either way, it doesn't matter. Like that's
like
a
6 or
long
7
time.
years. You're no way, no shot. He's got a chance.
No,
Or mostly running quarterback.
Yeah, he was a runner to begin with anyway. So
I don't even know if you could call him a running quarterback.
Well, them knees don't hold up when you get in your 30s, man.
Well, I'm sure Justin remembers that
all
that one playoff game against Green Bay. He was quite the runner in that game.
Fuck that dude. I hope he never steps foot on another football field just for that.
Oh, he won't. Don't worry about it. Like he's not coming back.
Not for that. He had an opportunity. What was it in like 2018 or 2019 when he was supposed to have that like big that big pro day type of a thing? Like he was.
Oh, is that like a big workout for everybody?
Yeah, he was going to work out for everybody, and a bunch of teams were interested. Like they were going to come and watch, and like he was going to put on like a full pro day. Like he was going to show them that he could still make all the throws, he could still do all the stuff.
He could still run a 40.
And then he canceled it, or no, he
tried to move the event at the last minute to a different spot.
At the last minute, he postponed it so he could change venues so that they could get like ESPN and all of these camera crews in to make this big ordeal over it. And then when he finally did do it, he spent all of his time like jerking himself off for the cameras and making it all about the Colin Kaepernick show, and really didn't like his workouts. He didn't do anything.
No, it wasn't impressive.
And,
it was.
And nobody came away from that thinking this dude can play football. Everybody just came away from that thinking, yeah, this dude's washed up, and he's trying to make this into a show. Like this is the Colin Kaepernick reality show at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like he,
yes,
absolutely.
Practice squad is too good for him.
Kurt Warner. The mofo was bagging groceries, and all he needed was Trent Green's knee to blow out. That son of a bitch.
Oh yeah,
dude, I love Kurt Warner. He's such a cool dude.
Did you see that the Jets did sign Trevor Siemian? That's who they brought in to fix their QB room.
Why is that name familiar?
He was with the Broncos, I think, wasn't he? They drafted him, and he never did shit. Like,
look, they don't. You're telling me they don't like. You're telling me they don't believe in Zach Wilson.
Of course not. He's.
Oh, okay. So you're talking Northwestern great Trevor Siemian, who played for the Broncos, Vikings, Jets in 19, Titans, Saints, Bears, Bengals, and now Jets again.
Yes. Yeah, he's going to come fix that QB room.
The Jets have said that Zach Wilson is their guy. He is.
Oh, did you see the coach after the game when they asked him about Wilson?
He started so hard.
Oh, but he started to say something and then realized what he was about to say. He said something like Zach Wilson is the best, and then kind of stumbled over it for a minute. And Zach Wilson is our starter going forward, like because he's like you can't defend him. He's just awful. It's unbelievable.
He was about to toe that company line that he's heard too many times over the last 2 weeks. Zach Wilson is the best opportunity that we have to have a cohesive offensive unit and to move this program in the right direction.
And he's like, oh, this.
And then reality set in.
Yeah. They were like, yeah, Zach Wilson's an all right guy. Like,
yeah, you see him take that sack this week where nobody touched him and he just went down in the pocket.
Oh, the same one that
he basically got
kid from the Giants got his record-breaking sack on Brett Favre.
Yeah,
who was Michael Strahan? Was it Strahan?
Strahan, yeah. At least that was like Strahan was like coming for him. There was nobody like he was in the pocket, and I mean, there's dudes around you, but he like just freaked out and went down. It was ridiculous.
He like falls over, and then all of a sudden you have the guy just tap him
it's like David Carr after playing a few years for the Texans.
Yeah, it wasn't even like he was down by contact because no one had touched him yet. Like he was clean in the pocket. Yeah, they had to touch him after he went down because he was still live ball.
The Jets coach was like, "Yeah, Zach Wilson's all right. I wouldn't be mad if he fucked my mom, but like."
I mean, you know, he is the MILF hunter after all. Like,
all right. Got anything else on this past week's games? I don't know. It wasn't a
horn, nothing really.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a super. There were some interesting games, like Arizona Dallas was interesting. The blowout games were interesting for reasons other than like they weren't close games. Seattle, Carolina was a lot better against Seattle than I expected them to be, but Seattle ended up. I'm not sure what's going on with Seattle. They don't look as good as they looked last year. Granted, it could be kind of like the Bengals. Like the Bengals started really slow last year and then came on strong. Seattle also kind of started slow last year and then started to find their groove. So
like Geno Smith cook.
Yeah, it could be a little bit. It could be a little bit of that. Like maybe it's just they start slow and then they'll come on.
Did either of you guys see that?
I mean, the Bengals are looking like such a disappointment, though. Like
trust me, I drafted Burrow as my number 1 QB. I'm having to start Cousins because Cousins is consistently getting me more points.
Yeah, I've been starting Russell Wilson. That's how bad it's gotten for me.
Yeah, dude. Before we get off this week, I just want Tua had like 2 sick ass no look shovel passes for touchdowns. I don't know if you guys saw those. They ran like a little screen underneath. And
I saw one of them. I didn't see the other one.
He pulled off 2 of them in the game. I mean, at that point, you were flogging a dead horse, but I loved it.
You know what I loved the most about this weekend was in one of the leagues, I was going head-to-head with Mark this weekend, and he had Raheem Mostert and all of his 38
on his
points.
bench.
No, he had him starting, and I still managed to win because the Buffalo defense put up 32 points.
Nice.
So I ended up going stride for stride with him between that match with what Buffalo was projected versus what they scored and what Mostert was projected versus what he scored. We ended up coming out about even, and then I had a couple other players. Devontae Adams had a monster game, and that ended up being the difference. Like everybody else basically scored what their projection was, except for Buffalo's defense, Mostert, and Devontae Adams. And so I came out on top. So sorry, Mark, about your luck. Maybe next week you'll beat whoever else it is you're playing.
Yeah,
I'm about to give up on Jerry Jacobs over here. Shit is killing me. He hasn't done anything. Like he's been terrible.
Yeah,
I benched him in one of the leagues that I'm in because he's so horrible right now.
Yeah, he's on my bench for this coming week as of now. Like my team this last week in our league, I had 1 player available on my bench, so my lineup was very easy. I had
I saw you had all the injuries.
All the injuries, all out, not even questionable. They were all out.
Damn.
I had Hunter Henry on my bench. That was my only option to switch anyone.
Did he score more points in the game than what the tight end that you started though?
No.
Lucky you.
And I won my matchup by 1 point.
Woo. I think Jacobs is having so much trouble because that was one of the things you saw in the Vegas the Raiders Steelers game the other night. Jimmy Garoppolo sails a lot of passes.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Devontae Adams and who's that other quick receiver that they've got? Shit. Now I'm drawing a blank on the dude's name. Anyway, the number 2 guy for
Jacoby Myers.
Yes.
Myers, yeah.
So the fact that Devontae and Myers are both so athletic and can go get the ball, even though he really is not super accurate with his throws, like that makes up the fact that they can go get the ball makes up for a lot of the really bad throws he makes. But he is not accurate with the ball. He throws high, he throws behind guys, he throws way too far in front of guys, all the consistently. And even his completed passes are not good passes. So I think the fact that defenses don't really have to respect Jimmy Garoppolo because, we can sell out and just stuff Josh Jacobs at the line every single play and, play the run.
Make Garoppolo beat us? Yeah.
And maybe Jimmy is going to throw complete some passes, but there's also an equal likelihood that he's going to throw it completely over his receiver's head and they're not even going to have a chance. So, yeah, let's fuck it. Let's stuff the run and make him earn it.
You could have the the 49ers. What was it? The 49ers QB? Was it him that's
Purdy?
Yeah, was it him that stepped out and got the safety?
No, that was Minshew.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, there were some impressive moments over the weekend of ineptitude. All right, y'all ready to start picking games? We already kind of teased the Packers-Lions. I'm going to pick the Packers just because I feel like they're going to continue to disappoint me this season. We're going
I'm taking the Lions by 7.
I hope you're right.
I have a real scientific way of going about these things where I just pull it out of my ass but go with my head, my heart. Go out there and I want to give 110%, and I'm going to have to go with the Lions on this one.
There we go. Good choice.
Yep, Detroit.
I hope you were all right, and I feel like on Friday morning I'm going to be really pissed off because we.
I want the Packers to win. I want you to be happy, Justin. I want you to be as happy as I was this past week.
Well, are you playing for like a? You're waiting for a draft pick. I can take another fucking mediocre secondary player.
See, that's my problem.
Might get another slot receiver.
I want the Packers to suck. I want them to win like 3 games and that's it. Let's pick in like the top 6 to 8, and get Marvin Harrison Jr. Get a top like a legit number 1 wide receiver.
Marvin Harrison Jr. goes like 2nd or 3rd in the draft.
Teams will go after quarterbacks up there.
He looks good enough that I think you take him. He's
let's suck and get a true number 1 receiver and really give Jordan Love the opportunity to be good.
Yeah. Thanks, Aiden.
Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to fuck around and win 7 games and pick somewhere in the mid-teens and take either an inside linebacker or a DB, and I'm going to shoot myself. That's what's going to happen.
Look, they got to get the number 1 free safety,
I think when we were doing the draft this past year, we were watching the draft live, and it was like, and here comes the Packers with the pick. I was like, watch, we're either taking a DB or a middle linebacker. And sure enough, they took a fucking middle linebacker from Iowa. I was like,
oh yeah, I gotta.
This is going to be the best rated show ever because I'm going to shoot myself in the head live on YouTube. If we pick another fucking DB, I'm just going to end it.
Yeah, I got to thank you and the Packers for trading the pick that we took Deion Branch with, because he looks like that could be the DB you guys draft, but no, he looked.
There's all this talk about the Packers front office savvy and how they handle their draft picks and don't spend a lot of money on dumb free agent acquisition. Fuck that. Roll the dice. Let's go get somebody that might actually be good. Let's go buy a fucking free agent that we can slot in somewhere.
Yeah, they don't really do that.
Well, when Miami does it, they fucking screw us for a few years. I remember when we brought over Ndamukong Suh.
That was a great contract.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys paid him, not the Lions.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's see.
We had some bad years after that. But.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We start getting into some interdivisional play this week. We got Philly and Washington, and this one is where is this game?
Philly.
That's in Philly.
It is at Philly, yeah. So Washington at the Eagles. I thought Washington wasn't that bad this year up until last
was
weekend,
last week,
and
yeah.
now I'm not. Oh, Goon's mic went ballistic on us. There we go. Yeah, then Washington hit Buffalo, and now I'm not so sure. I don't think this week will be much different against Philly. I think Philly is legit.
They'll run up the score on them.
Yeah, I'll go with the Eagles on this one.
Yeah, Eagles all the way.
Yeah, I'm
Jalen Hurts is going to throw for 300. See, I need Devontae Smith to get like 3 touchdowns here.
Eagles are currently an 8-point favorite.
Well, this is like one of those things you're talking about earlier, where like you just want the stadium to collapse on both teams. That's just how I always feel about the NFC East. But I guess I'll pick the Eagles.
Oh, let's see. Oh, I forgot. We've got our first London game coming up this weekend.
Oh God!
And London always gets the good. London always gets the good games. This year they've got Jacksonville versus the Falcons. Jim's Falcons. Yeah.
Why would they schedule that? Because that's like
I'm just glad.
Put the 2 worst teams in like 2 like bottom tier teams in the league and let them go to London for that.
I'm just glad they're not fucking making the Dolphins do it, because like the first few years they did it, it always seemed like it was the Dolphins and Patriots.
Well, that was the Dolphins. I think that was the Dolphins owner was like, yeah, we'll do it.
But those games are always, you never know what's going to happen. Like sometimes Miami goes into New England and pulls some shit off. They always could be a fluke, could be a ass stopping. It just depends. You never know.
I mean, this is the way they should do these games, like 2 non-rival teams that are it's just a point, like an early season matchup that more or less has minimal implication. Like that's an okay way to do it. So Atlanta, Jacksonville hasn't lived up to the hype they kind of built for themselves last year. They've been very disappointed through the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, they have not impressive.
I mean,
they started off crappy early last year.
Lawrence looks kind of
started off slow.
And Atlanta kind of pulled the same thing as what Washington did. Like they looked good the first couple weeks, and then this past weekend, I was like, ooh, maybe not. I think Atlanta is still. I still think Atlanta is a good team. I just think this past weekend was kind of a tough matchup for them. Detroit looked good, and Detroit has a very tough defense, and they do a lot of things that defensively they do a lot of things well that would limit the ability of Atlanta to get their offense off the ground. So it makes sense. I think that was
Ritter did not handle pressure at all this last week. Like you got him moving around at all in the pocket, and it was over. Like the Lions got 7 sacks on him, just tore him up.
I think this week will be a little bit different. I think Atlanta will rebound and have a good week, and Atlanta will beat Jacksonville. Right now, Jacksonville is a 3-point favorite.
Yep.
Yeah, I say Jacksonville. No, I still have a little bit of faith in Trevor.
I could go either way here, but since I could go either way. I'm gonna go with my son left his Pokemon cards on my desk, so I'm gonna use his coin to flip.
Okay.
Heads Jacksonville, tails Atlanta. It's heads, so Jacksonville.
I'm taking Atlanta.
All right. Next, we've got another division game, Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Both Tampa Bay and New Orleans are sitting at 2-1 on the season. Of course, Tampa Bay hit that buzzsaw that is the Philly defense on Monday Night Football. Baker Mayfield has not looked terrible. He's had good chemistry with Mike Evans, which is imperative if you're going to move the ball in that offense. They're I can't remember the name of the back that they've got, but their running back doesn't look terrible. But
something White.
White, Rashad White.
Rashad, yep.
They're not bad, and they still have a good they still have a good defense. Like it's one of those things that a defense can carry you to an extent. Like if you're going against some mid-tier teams, you have if you have a good defense and a just average offense, you have a really good chance of winning the game. And I feel like this might be one of those opportunities for Tampa Bay where going against New Orleans, who have looked pretty pedestrian themselves.
Well, and what's the news on Derek Carr?
I haven't heard if he's out.
Because he was out, like he left the game last week. I haven't heard any update on like what like.
I think he's out until they say otherwise, as far as I can tell. They haven't made any announcement. I don't think about him.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the notes on here, and I don't see anything with him as far as his injury.
He's listed as questionable. He's listed as questionable right now, but
yeah, they're saying they're taking it week to week. It looks like.
But even if he plays, like, is it Jameis Winston?
I'll take Carr over Winston every time.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jameis Winston. I think he's fucking awesome. I don't think he's very good. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's still.
When I go eat crab legs with him, I'll eat crab legs with him.
I mean, at least he'll
I'll go sit down with him, have some beers. But
yeah, he'll bring you some crab legs.
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm down. But yeah, I don't know. He's an interception machine.
I think I'm going to take Tampa in this game.
Yeah.
Tampa.
Yep,
Tampa.
Then we got two teams that have both looked almost equally unimpressive. Teams that.
Wait, on that game, didn't they say Alvin Kamara's coming back?
Kamara is back.
Okay,
he's back.
So I don't know. Is that going to be? Do you think he's going to have as much of an impact though? I still take Tampa Bay, but
Kamara was on significant decline last year. I don't know what his impact is going to be. He's right. He pairs well with a power runner like a Mark Ingram or something like that. I don't know if New Orleans has that type of a back that can be like the
well, because he's a
you need the battering ram guy, and then you can let Kamara be the change of pace guy. And I don't think New Orleans has the battering ram guy to create that opportunity. Revenge game week. Magoo is all over it. Jameis versus Tampa, and then we'll get to this one in a minute. Thielen versus Minnesota.
Oh, there we go.
So, yeah, I think Tampa's the better team in this one.
Yeah.
What do we got next? Two teams that have looked almost equally unimpressive for teams that are supposed to be able to run the ball have not been able to get their running games going whatsoever. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. So who's gonna hit 500 this week, or does it? Can we pick tie on these?
Yeah, why not?
I'm actually going to this game.
Ooh.
Nice.
It's for my son's Cub Scouts. It's funny. Like, I hate going to NFL games. I would much rather go to a college game. But every time I've gotten free tickets to a game, it's always been a Titans game against the Bengals.
Let's see. The Bengals are averaging 69.3 rushing yards per game this season. And Tennessee is doing a little bit better. They're averaging 90 per game. Both of them are giving up almost exactly the same amount. 22 points per game is what they're giving up. Both teams are averaging 15 points a game. Like, they're just not impressive at all.
I mean, do you think Derrick Henry has anything left in the tank?
I've been saying it for 2 years that I thought it was going to be like he can't keep it up, and I was wrong the last 2 years. So I didn't say it this year because I got sick of being wrong. But I felt like all the dudes with Brady, like, oh, this is the year he sucks. But it's got to happen at some point. Like, he can't keep up that pace at running back that long.
So we got to treat your
Especially
picks
with
like
that many
Jim
carries.
Cramer. Always do the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, he had a heavy workload, like especially the past couple of years, right? So I mean, there's no way that he can sustain it that well. Like
That's a lot of dude to carry around on those knees. Like that's
a big body, you know,
He's a big boy.
getting pounded through.
It's rough. But I'll pick first. I'm taking the Bengals.
I'm thinking
Cincinnati.
the Titans. I'm taking Titans. I think the Titans defense has this, like, because Joe Burrow and T. Higgins can't connect. So I mean, what are they going to do?
Maybe, you know what? Maybe I should pick the Titans because I know how my luck is with like former Dolphins players, and like being at a game where Tannehill's playing quarterback, he's probably going to like show up to spite me.
But even if he shows up, what does that mean? Like,
I don't know. They somehow pull a win out of their ass. That's showing up enough for me. I'm a bitter
doesn't
old
fuck the game
Irishman.
up. That's the best Tannehill does is not lose the game for you. Like,
you know what? Maybe I'll get to see him run down an interception and tackle it on his own in person. I won't have to watch it on TV like I used to.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go with the Bengals in this just because I think this is going to be a battle, a defensive struggle between two teams that offenses can't seem to move the ball. But at the end of the day, somebody has to win, and I think the Bengals have the better opportunity to move. I think the Tennessee defense has weaknesses that the Bengals defense doesn't have as much of. And that could be like the Bengals will have more opportunities to score. It could very well be a 9-6 like field goal fest, like we watched in literally every single Denver Broncos game on Thursday Night Football last year. But I mean, somebody's got to win these things, right?
Yep.
At least in theory. Here's a big one for Trey. We got Rams versus the Colts. It is in Indianapolis. I think the Colts are a 1-point favorite.
The Colts are going to win. I'm kind of in the ballpark with you at this point, Justin. Like, let's let the Rams let's just tank, guys. Like, just tank and get a good pick because there's no reason this team just. I mean, especially without Cooper Kupp, like what are they?
I was just going to say, does he ever come back? Is he just done?
I think he's done, dude.
He's on IR, isn't he? Usually that's most of the time. That's for the year.
No, I mean, like, just like, is he done?
I'm pretty sure he's done. Yeah.
Like
right off into the sunset and call it a career done.
Yeah, like fuck it. At this point, like take the money and just you're not playing. Fuck it. Go buy an island or something. I don't know.
I think it's going to depend on if it's Gardner Minshew or if it's Richardson. Richardson has been surprisingly not terrible in his limited action so far this season. Like he has put up good numbers. He has looked like he has command of that offense. He just can't seem to finish a fucking game. It's projected that he's going to be back from concussion protocol this week. If he's playing and he's able to finish out the game, I think the Colts will be fine and they'll win. If not, then all bets are off. But I'm going to take the Colts on the idea that he will be back.
I'm taking the Rams.
You really got that much faith? I mean,
I got my boy Stafford. He's going to pull it out.
Stafford and Puka.
See, I like Stafford.
I'm a huge Stafford fan still.
Yeah.
I always will be. Like,
I don't even like the Lions, and I've always
they gave up on him in Detroit. I was really disappointed about that. You know,
they gave up on him, but we became a better team out of it, so it worked out great.
You're like, well,
I
he got
hated seeing him go.
he got to go win a Super Bowl. It doesn't even matter.
Great. He got a
It all
ring.
worked out.
It's great.
Right. It all worked out for everybody. He got to go win a ring. The Lions got to be a better team.
And now the Rams suck.
Yeah, the Rams are garbage now. But everybody knew it. Like that year, even I knew that was going to happen. Like
they
sold out to win a Super Bowl. Like they got it. It worked.
They pulled a
I
Florida
don't necessarily
Marlins.
like that. I don't like that style of winning a Super Bowl, but whatever. You got a ring. Like,
I mean, the Rams have done that before. Like that ownership has done that before. They've won Super Bowls previously, and then they got the team and go in the opposite direction for a while. Like I mean,
if only they could build slowly and build
like,
something that actually is like the early aughts, like early 2000s.
All right, let's pause picking games and talk about that. Is it better to suck 9 out of 10 years, but you win a championship every 10th year, or would you rather be in the playoffs every single year but not win a single championship?
As a Lions fan, I can't relate with either of those because we just suck 9 out of 10 years and once make the playoffs and lose. So but I think, I don't know, being in the playoffs every year as a fan, you don't want a championship, but your season's extended. You playoff games are exciting. It's fun. Like,
you get to make fun of your division rivals that didn't make it.
Yeah, as a Packers fan, they didn't win the Super Bowl every year, but they won the division and go to NFC Championship games, and that's better than not doing that.
Yeah, but if you told me that instead of getting my heart broken in the conference championship game every year for 4 years straight, I could just get a Super Bowl and then not have to worry about it for another 10 years.
I guess if it's a guarantee.
My stress levels might take that, because watching a playoff game where it's like, are we going to pull this off? How more, not with the Packers, it's over the last decade, it's more been not are we going to pull this off, but how are we going to fucking choke this one away?
Maybe I'm just more petty.
That shit's hard. That shit's hard on the
Dolphins are off, and then they go into Foxborough and pull off a win against New England. When Brady's still there, or that year that fucking Favre played for the Jets and we won the AFC East, and going into that last game, whoever won that game was going to win the division, and Favre at that point had thrown more touchdowns than interceptions. And at the end of that game, he had more interceptions than touchdowns, and we beat them, and we win the division, and then go on and lose in the next round of the playoffs. That was awesome, though. That was a cool little bit of Schadenfreude for me. I don't know. I guess you could make good points either way on this.
Yeah. See, I'm of the fan base that last year I loved that we beat the Packers to just keep them out of the playoffs. We were already out. Yeah, but just play spoiler, Aaron Rodgers' career in Green Bay. It was great.
Dude, the only loss the 85 Bears had was the Dolphins.
Yeah,
and I get to hold that over any Bears fan I want now.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that Aaron Rodgers' last pass was a pick to the Lions. Great.
All right, moving on to picking the game. We had our little side. That was fun. I wanted them to move away from Aaron last year, but they didn't do that. They
held on to him a little bit too long, I guess.
Well, they did the same thing with. I think the Packers suffered from some nostalgia issues. They did the same thing with Favre. They kept him around for 1 year longer than they should have. They kept Aaron around for 1 year longer than they should have. Maybe that's another sidebar on this. Would you rather have your team cut the guy a year too soon and he goes somewhere else and has a really good year, or cut him a year too late and his last year in uniform for your team, he really kind of fucking sucks?
But can I throw it from your example with Favre and Rodgers? So Favre stayed an extra year that he shouldn't have played, and then Rodgers came out and became Aaron Rodgers. And then Rodgers stayed a year too long, and now Love comes out and looks like he's good. So, do you take the old guy bum? You take the old guy bum for a year, and then the young guy comes in and he's ready to go.
That's true. I mean, I guess.
I kind of have a loyalty thing, so I think that keeping a quarterback as long as they aren't just destroying the team. I kind of, I don't know.
I mean, if you're San Diego and you have Phillip Rivers waiting in the wing behind Drew Brees, or if you're like San Francisco and you have Steve Young waiting behind Joe Montana,
Yeah,
that's like the wish, the ideal situation. But most of the time that doesn't happen. Same with like Green Bay with Favre and Rodgers. Like,
yeah. How often does that happen?
Yeah,
You get like two all-time greats back to back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like who have we had since Marino? I mean, before this we had
Tua now.
Well, I'm going back like 20 years. Like who was that?
Smoking Jay Cutler?
Jay Fields. Oh no, who was that guy that when Ricky Williams was there? Not Jay Feely, not AJ Feely. Before him. Fuck. So we had a lot of productive years out of him where we were just mediocre. We had like 9-7 seasons, 8-8. I think we made the playoffs like once in a while. But I mean, since then, like we haven't had like somewhat success since Tua.
Yeah.
Oh, who was that guy? It's gonna bother me.
All right. What's our next game?
Let's see. We got going back to Magoo's Revenge Week. We've got Carolina Panthers versus the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know what to make of this game because I don't think either of these teams are any fucking good.
The Vikings were the biggest frauds in the league last year, and it's been shown this year pretty hard. I don't know what they did in the offseason. That was the craziest. Like, they had a good year last year, then traded and cut good players.
I said that last year.
I don't get it.
There were the two teams that I didn't have confidence in last year. There was the Vikings and the Eagles, because I watched a lot of Vikings and a lot of Eagles games for some reason last year. And the Vikings they were like the worst 10-win team I think I'd ever seen. At the end of the game, they would be ahead, and I'd be like, how the fuck did they even win this game? Like didn't they win
like 13 last year?
Yeah, it was
12?
stupid.
It was crazy.
Stupid.
Like,
I was like, how are they?
They won like 8 of those, like 1 or 2 points. It was all super tight games that somehow they came out on top.
I think
that's a thing, but
I think I saw a statistic earlier in either week 1 or week 2 that they were the only team in NFL history to have 12 games be decided by 1 score or less, and to win all 12 of those games. Like,
yeah, it was crazy.
And there have been other teams that have had a high percentage of their wins from the season before be by 1 score or less, and every single time, well, not every single. I think there have been a handful of aberrations, but the vast majority, like 80% of the time, whenever that happens, where you win a whole bunch of games by 1 score or less, the following season, that same team ends up just like getting absolutely blasted week in and week out because they're not actually that good. They just happen to, the ball bounced the right way every week.
Yeah, they got lucky a lot of times.
And I think that's what Minnesota is catching this year. I mean, they have some phenomenal talent on offense with all of the Madison, Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison. Like
they can't run the ball is their problem. They cannot run the ball at all,
and
so
it
makes it really hard to get it
throwing it. So
Kirk Cousins, I love to talk shit about the dude, but he's put up some of the best numbers in the league this year.
Yeah,
like you look at quarterback, he's tearing it up,
dude. He's just consistent. Like Kirk Cousins is if anything, he's consistent.
He's that Bama quarterback.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. He would have fit into an Alabama quarterback system perftly. Make the right passes at the right time and hand it off to your running back to get the good good yards.
Is it hard to root for him because he's a Spartan?
That and like he's a local dude. Like where I'm from, he's from the next town over.
Okay,
like he went to high school down over, and I've always known him as a douchebag. Like everybody always talks shit about him then. But now he's like seems like a crazy nice dude.
Yeah.
So like I want to hate him, but then I see all the shit about him, and I can't really hate on the guy. And he plays really well, so yeah, it's hard to talk shit about him. I want to really bad though. Fucking Spartan.
Who's going to be playing quarterback this weekend for Carolina? I think that's the question. Like,
yeah, what's you guys take on Bryce Young?
Bryce Young is not good.
He's
I mean,
tiny.
You can't give a hobbit the fucking football and expect him to be successful at the quarterback position. It does not work.
Okay, so you had Kyler Murray out in Arizona, and he's like a toddler running around out there. He doesn't look like he's going to break in half like Bryce Young, though.
Is this going to be an Andy Dalton redemption arc?
Oh God!
The Red Rocket returns, baby.
Imagine.
And not only that, but you get the white boy hookup. Andy Dalton throwing the ball to Thielen. Man. I mean, we're rolling this thing back to some '60s football style.
I like Thielen.
See, you could only do better if you had who is it? The San Francisco running back,
McCaffrey.
Yeah,
the genetic freak that was bred by two super athletes.
Yeah. They need to trade for the Raiders. They have that Renfro, slot guy, and he's only had like 2 targets all year. So there's all these talks. He was a Pro Bowler last year. Caught like
pull Peyton Hillis
passes.
out of retirement. Let's
there we go.
Are we building Clyde's dream team right now?
This is the white.
He did say he was gonna try to draft only white guys at one point, didn't he? I think it lasted like a round and just can't do it.
I think we need to let him do that next year. Like, make him participate in the draft, and as it's coming up to his pick, like, just deliberately don't pick white dudes so that he can just load up on an entirely.
We got to make sure he can see the pictures.
Yeah,
when who he's drafting.
We have to make him a draft board.
We can coach him along.
There we go.
Let's give him a draft board, and these are the white guys you need to go after. Like,
oh, we should come up with theme teams. Like, everybody has to pick based on a certain theme. Like, you don't get to pick the players you want. You have to pick players. You have to pick players that fit into a particular like theme of what your team is supposed to be.
That'd be wild.
This could be fun. We're going to turn this into a gimmick league. We don't fuck this being serious shit.
Yeah. Well, I got other.
All right. We're going to get back to picking games before I start yelling at myself. Did we actually pick this one? I think I said I'd take Minnesota, even though no, fuck it. I'm riding with the Red Rocket. Let's go, Carolina. I don't have any faith in Minnesota.
I'm taking the Panthers.
My Appalachia bias, I got to go for Kakalaki, Carolina.
There we go. Yeah, it's Carolina for sure.
Trey, you're going to be the one that comes in with reason. Yeah, there he is.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, the Vikings defense has got this. There's no way.
Right. Miami and Buffalo. This one could be an absolute slobber knocker, or it could be an absolute track meet. Like, this could be a 63-70 type of a game, or it could be a 9-12 kind of a game. And there's really no way of knowing. It is, let's see, Buffalo is a 3-point favorite. It is in Buffalo. So, coming off of incredibly impressive performances last week from both teams, I feel like the pace that Miami needs to play at for that offense to be effective the way it was like last week, I think Buffalo's defense is the like step up to the line and punch you in the mouth type of defense that slows that sort of offense down. So if there's a team that's going to be able to step up and put the brakes on Miami, it is Buffalo and their defense, and I'm going to roll with the Bills. I'm going to roll with the Bills on this one.
I can see it going either way. One cool thing I like about the Dolphins offense is they can move guys around a lot in different spots. I mean, mainly Tyreek Hill. We're also going to have Jalen Waddle back this week, and like we have that 1-2 punch of A-Chain and Mostert that they're doing really well. So, I mean, if it becomes a smash mouth game, hopefully they can rely on those two cats.
I mean, Miami was dominant last week, but they're not playing Denver this week. Like they looked crazy good last week. I think I think Miami's legit, but last week like Denver's awful.
It's going to be a lot closer game for sure. Like,
it's going to be a much closer game.
I could see either team winning this.
Well,
yeah, like
the Bills. The Bills are going to be able to hold the ball. Like they're going to have like they're actually going to play offense.
What's the more impressive win? 70-20 against Denver, or 37-3 against Washington? Like Washington actually looked like a good team, and that Bills defense just smothered them completely.
Well, that Howell, their quarterback, was entirely unproven. He threw 4 picks. Like they showed that he's not a rookie, but he might as well be. He played 1 game last year.
Yeah, he's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's not ready. He might be Kirk Cousins,
the eternal rookie. Yeah.
Well, I used to play for the Skins. I was trying to make a joke. What was that thing he said in the locker room? Did you see that, or what was?
Or
it?
Did you like that?
Did you like that? That's what it was. Yeah.
I forgot they drafted Kirk Cousins to be Robert Griffin III's
backup.
Now,
yeah.
Now RG3 is a Twitter person.
Commentator. He's a commentator.
He's an interesting Twitter guy.
He is. I don't dislike following him. I don't agree with everything he says, but
he's got some bad takes, but yeah, he's good at Twitter. I'll give him that.
Yes, that's it. That he is good at Twitter. And I guess if you can be good at Twitter these days, you can monetize, especially if you're a white supremacist.
It's still Twitter. Shazam is still Captain Marvel, and the Commanders are still the Redskins to me.
Yeah, so we're never going to call them anything. We will never call them anything other than the Redskins in this show anyway.
And I like that there's a group of natives
they filed
getting rid of.
Yeah, they officially filed their lawsuit. Yeah,
I love it.
How funny would it be if they win? Like they don't settle.
And they have to change the name back.
Oh, if they change the name,
that would be beautiful.
All the Commander logo, the Commander everything, and
go because they screwed up and they can't get copyright on the Commanders because someone else already owns the copyright on it. So they have to change it.
I tell you what, like the person who would be the most happiest. I have a retarded uncle. He has been since he was little, and my mom takes care of him. You know. And his two favorite
retarded, like you use that medically?
Yes, I'm using it medically. I'm using it medically.
Legitimately.
So his two favorite football teams are the Fish and the Indians, which is the Dolphins and the Redskins.
Yeah.
And I would love nothing more than like to go buy him a new Redskins jersey because I've already bought him Dolphins jerseys. Dude, that would make his day. That old feller just loves watching football and loves watching Westerns. And I would love to bring joy to that guy's life.
Talking about retarded, my wife says that we need to stop saying retarded as much as we do because we are actually the people that we call retarded. It's actually offensive to legitimately retarded people that we would lump those people who are infinitely worse in with them. Like we have to find a new name for the people that we refer to as retarded.
I'm a child I grew up in the 90s. Everything is gay and retarded. That's just how it is. Like,
but also women.
Nothing against gay people or retarded people. It's just
right, exactly. But
you're just
this
being
is that
gay
whole
and retarded.
thing about women not like, oh, men think of Rome. Yeah, men think of history and etymology, and the etymology of that word, she doesn't understand it. Sometimes you're talking about someone that's mentally disabled. Sometimes you're just talking about someone just being a fucking idiot.
Yeah, just being retarded.
Yeah.
The word is descriptive in it.
I say we're over an hour and Trey's getting an itchy trigger finger to hit the outro, but it's the wrong show. It's the wrong show, so he doesn't get to do it. In fact, I don't have that added to the brand, so he couldn't do it even if he wanted to. We don't do.
Yeah, we still got games to pick.
We just
hurry up.
Quit.
Jeez. Actually, this is quicker than picks normally go.
A lot of the games left are easy picks, though.
Yes, this is going quicker than normally. Okay, I said Buffalo. Jay didn't give an answer.
That.
My heart, I got to go with my Fins.
I'm taking the Bills.
Bills Mafia.
Uh-huh. All right, Baltimore, Cleveland. Is this round 2? Is this no? That was Cincinnati. Cleveland was week 1. I was gonna say, surely to God, the Browns and the Ravens are not playing each other for a second time in 4 fucking weeks.
It happens with scheduling. It happened to the Dolphins last year. We played the Bills in like 3 or 4 weeks, twice.
Lions have the Vikings 2 of the last 3 weeks.
That's fucking insane. You would think the schedule would be better at that.
Yeah, it's Lions, Vikings. I don't remember who in between, but then we finish with them. It's just
as someone who has professionally put together schedules before, like you would think that the schedule.
Yeah, you can do better than this. Like,
do better.
I think they were trying to set it up for the division. They expected those 2, so they want the 2 games right at the end. They both matter.
I guess that makes sense.
Until somebody has a heart attack.
They need to just let ChatGPT do it, and then that'll fix everything. All right, so we got Ravens, Browns in Cleveland. Let's see.
Fucking dude threw a pass backwards last week. You guys see that clip?
Yes.
Who? Fucking Watson. Mm-hmm. He tried to throw a pass to his running back that was and
he chucked it all
6
the way
yards. Yes, 6 yards further in the backfield than he was.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even
based on that.
It wasn't even a lateral.
Yeah, it wasn't like he full on cocked back, turned around and threw the ball. Like I was like, the fuck is he doing?
And he's one of the highest paid dudes in the league. It's wild. Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens. Not even a question.
The Ravens have some significant holes on the offensive side, specifically the fact that they don't have a fucking wide receiver. They haven't figured out how to use Zay Flowers yet, and they cannot move the ball through the air.
I don't even know who they have at wide receiver, other than Zay Flowers.
Bateman. I can't remember what his first name is. It starts with an R. And then Mark Andrews, the tight end. That's it. That's their. They've got Odell Beckham Jr., but he left the game last week hurt, and I don't think I don't think he'll be back this week. So, and even with that being said, he wasn't.
Well, it didn't matter. He's not been playing good anyway.
Right, he wasn't a significant contributor to that offense anyway. Their running game is Gus Edwards, Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon III, and somebody else that I can't remember his name. It's just a full-on.
The running game is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, their entire
Jackson
offense is Lamar Jackson.
He had 100 yards rushing last week.
It's almost like the Chicago offense, except that Jackson has put on some weight and some muscle over the last several years, and he can actually handle doing that, whereas Justin Fields is not built for it yet.
No, he won't ever be built for it.
Yeah. I honestly, coming out of college, I was surprised that Lamar Jackson has put on the weight that he has and bulked up the way he has. He was scrawny when he came out of college. He was a little dude.
Oh, I had no faith in him coming out of college. I didn't think he'd be what he is now.
I had no faith in Tua coming out of college. I'm very biased against left-handers.
Yeah, it's weird. Watching a lefty's weird. And I'm a lefty. Well, kind of a lefty. But
ball spirals the wrong way.
Yeah, it's strange.
But if we're going to go with running back by committee and wide receiver by attrition and have a good defense, which is kind of what both of those teams do. I mean, Cleveland's got
I think Cleveland. I'm taking Cleveland. The Browns. It's Browns town now.
Cleveland's got Amari Cooper for that game changing wide
If
receiver.
Watson can hit him,
That's the big question. If Watson can hit him, not throwing the ball in the wrong direction. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens on this one, just because I think they are a more sound team. Like we were talking about with we're coming back to Bama. Not so much are you going to do things that are going to win you the game, so much as are you not going to do things that'll lose you the game. And I think I have more faith in Baltimore to not do something to lose the game than I do in Cleveland. Like I think Deshaun Watson has that do something to lose the game streak in him that.
Well, he's essentially like all or bust, basically. That's which Deshaun Watson is showing up that day. Like is he gonna throw, you know?
And he wasn't like that in Houston, but as soon as he started playing in Cleveland last year, that's exactly what he was from the moment he stepped on the field. Like I don't know, it's crazy.
Because he looked really good in Houston. Like he was
he was crazy. Yeah, he was crazy.
Maybe the time off was not a good thing for him.
Well, and he had some shit to deal with, so
yeah,
maybe his head's not right.
Like after a while, like they just don't feel good. They start hurting.
He's probably, and it's probably the opposite. He's probably not getting those happy endings anymore, and he's not sure what to do with himself.
Yeah, you can't risk that again.
Right. Cleveland's going to have to put somebody special on the staff just for him.
I'm sure they have somebody. I'm sure they have a guy.
Big Swedish guy. I guess I'll go back to my scientific method. The Ravens did the right thing of getting out of Cleveland. I got to go for the team south of the Mason-Dixon line, and I've only ever rooted for a team from Cleveland twice in my life, and that was the movies Major League 1 and 2. So the Ravens.
They need to go get Deshaun a sexual harassment prevention chick. That way.
There we go. Yep.
And a sexual harassment chick, one that he can,
just put on that.
Let's see. Next game we got Pittsburgh and Houston. That's
another terrible game.
Yeah.
Houston didn't look terrible last week, but I think they are really bad.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's defense is very good, but that offense is incredibly bad.
I'm riding with Kenny Pickett.
Look, Deontay Johnson
is not good.
And Pickett, they're going to connect for 4 touchdowns. You just watch. You watch.
Now Pickens, he's the receiver. He's good.
Yeah.
Is Johnson back?
Pickett could hit. If
Pickett could hit Pickens. Yeah, they have something going.
That's the combo they need to focus on. I don't know why they don't.
Keep on going with Johnson. It seems like
I'm waiting for Magoo to chime in on this. I don't know why Pittsburgh doesn't game plan their passing game around George Pickens more, because he is very, very, very obviously the best, just like
he's
flat out receiver on that squad. Like they actually have some decent receivers, but if you can utilize him the way, say, this is 100% accurate, as a matter of fact. If you can utilize George Pickens in a similar way that like the Raiders use,
Myers?
No, the other Adams.
Oh, the other guy.
Yeah.
Adams.
Devontae Adams. I don't know why I couldn't remember his first name. Probably because I've been drinking. If they can utilize Pickens in a similar way that the Raiders utilize Devontae Adams, game plan wise, then that would open up some of those other receivers for a Myers style of usage, and like that would work out really well for them as a team. But yeah, I don't think Tomlin is particularly of the mentality that that's the kind of offense they want to run. Also, it was weird watching the tandem running backs, Harris and Morris, and like felt like the offensive line blocked different. Like the way they and the game plan, like the play calling was so much different for Harris than it was for Morse, and it didn't open up opportunities for Harris. So like half the time you're getting stuffed at the line just because of the way that, like that didn't make any sense.
It was a strange game to watch.
Yeah, very. But with all of that being said, I still think Houston kind of was the squirrel that found the nut last week. Not so much that they are going to have any flashes of brilliance beyond last week. I think it was just a really good game.
Stroud looks better than I expected.
Stroud does look better than I expected too, but I don't think that team is ready to actually like competitively try to win games week in and week out. And
he hasn't faced that. So
the Pittsburgh defense is really good, so that could give him problems this week.
They're going to be all over him all day.
Yeah, I said Pittsburgh.
Steelers.
Yeah, I'm taking Steelers.
In the game that literally nobody with any good sense is going to watch this week, we've got the Broncos versus the Bears. Regardless of who wins, we all lose. But
I looked up just to see how cheap I could get tickets if I went to Chicago. I'm only like 3 hours out of Chicago. So I was like, how cheap? They were like still $140 for nosebleeds.
Jesus.
It's like, this is a trash game. Like, no. Howard.
I'm sure they still do the blackouts, don't they? If they don't sell out.
Probably.
Is that still a thing? Yeah, of course.
Probably.
That's another bullshit thing I hate.
Like I said, though, I don't have to worry about that.
I don't know.
I'm going to take the Broncos.
Going back to the trusty coin for my son. Broncos green, Bears white. Oh God.
Yeah, you got the Bears. Oh, you got Broncos. Oh.
See, I think I'm gonna go with the Bears.
Prior to last week, I would have said I think the Broncos have a decent defense. They just can't figure out what the fuck their offense is doing, and then Miami did that to them. So I'm not even sure the defense just fucking quit in that game. That was
just
pathetic.
Wait till you see the defense this week, though. They're gonna have something to prove, and they're playing the Bears.
Yes, so it could be an impressive defensive game. I think I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one, even though I hate to pick that. But.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick against.
You just want to root against Russell Wilson. You know, you don't want to ride. You don't want the Broncos to ride.
I root against the Broncos just because I remember those like Marino Elway rivalries in the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah.
I picked the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl last year. I thought Russell Wilson coming to Denver was going to be – I thought Russell Wilson coming to Denver was going to be like Peyton Manning coming to Denver 2.0. Like I thought at the time the Broncos had a good team. They just needed a quarterback that would propel them to that next step. And watching the Broncos 2 years ago – they had a really good defense, and they seemed to have pieces. They just didn't have a quarterback. And I thought bringing in Russell Wilson was going to change that dynamic, and that was going to be the thing that took them to the next level. And then the season started, and you saw Russell Wilson week 1, and it was like, holy shit, this dude is completely done. Like, he is –
Russell Wilson was a system quarterback.
Yeah. He
left that system, and he's not good. Like, because, I mean, even his college – days he wasn't anything special. He went to the Seahawks. He was in the right system at the right time and looked awesome. He went somewhere else and he's dog shit. Like he's been so bad.
That's kind of why Geno Smith looks good because the Seahawks do have a good system in place.
Exactly.
I think
he's a bum. Nobody wanted Geno Smith.
I thought Sean Payton knew how to like coach short quarterbacks. Isn't Drew Brees is like sub 6 foot, right?
Yeah,
also, Sean Payton.
I think Drew Brees would actually play the game plan. I don't think Russell is. I don't think Russ is all about the game plan. He's about cooking or whatever.
Let Russ cook, baby. Let Russ cook.
That's right.
Yeah, but if what he's cooking ends up being complete shit, like maybe you got to get him out of the kitchen.
Kick him out of the kitchen.
Yeah, but even with all of that being said, I'm still going to go with Denver because for as bad
so am
as
I,
Denver
but-
might be, Chicago is even more of a shit show. So
Yeah. Oh, Chicago's. So they're little side note. Chicago, their defensive coordinator was it? He left the team, but there was like rumors that he was getting raided for something he had. Like they were talking about images or like
CP.
it sounded like
CP.
some CPs.
Huh.
But like they were talking that one of the Bears facilities was going to be raided. Like there was that turned out to be nonsense. But from what I heard, he's like in some legal trouble.
You know, they did have some equipment stolen.
Mhm. Yeah, they got that all that shit stolen from the stadium.
I mean, you know, that's going to impair their practice. They're not going to be able to practice, you know. So they got somebody stole the practice dummies. They can't practice, you know. So
they stole like a fucking gator or something. They like got into a garage and stole. It was it's so Chicago. It's great.
Yeah, those gators are expensive.
everybody picked this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
flipped the coin.
Yep.
All right.
I love you bringing on my deep analysis for this.
Yeah.
Wait, which one? What do you think we're doing next? This one is always an entertaining game, even if it's not necessarily a good game. We got the Raiders and Chargers, the bitter, hated rivals.
San Diego Superchargers.
Mike Williams is done.
See, they just,
done for the
done.
year.
Yeah, he's out.
He's out. Like that's it. Finito. Which fucking sucks because he had a really big week last week, and then But don't they have didn't they draft another guy that's kind of like waiting in the wings for basically for this to happen, for one of these two to go down so he can have the big step up? I feel like
we'll see this week. You know?
Yeah, I feel like there were a bunch of teams that had like the two guys, and then they went and drafted a third guy to kind of like
be
wait for one of the two guys to finally retire or decide he was ready to leave. I thought the Chargers were one of those teams, but I can't. There it is, Magoo. I knew Magoo would have the answer. Quentin Johnston from TCU.
Yeah.
Maybe this is his time to shine. Maybe this is
you
where
never
he's
know.
going to
He might
step
blow
up.
up.
Is Austin Eckler going to be back? I think is the biggest question for this game.
Yeah.
I think the depth chart was showing him listed.
Yeah.
He's
Well, I got him on my fantasy team, so I'm expecting him back this week.
Okay.
You're expecting him back.
I'm expecting him back. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, he better be back.
Or not back. He better. This will be the first game of the year. He hasn't played.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him back. If Austin Eckler is back, then I definitely think the Chargers win this. Even if he's not back, I still think there's a pretty high probability. Justin Kelly is definitely not on that level. Like in spot work, he looked like he might be last year, and then getting like starting job with Eckler out this year.
He's not that guy.
He is not that guy. But they could very well be good enough. I think they're definitely good enough to at least beat Vegas, who I don't know what they've got going on. So
yeah, I have no faith in Garoppolo. He's not good. Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers, even without Eckler or Williams.
Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers.
Next game we've got. This was another one of those revenge games that Magoo was talking about earlier. We got Zeke going up against the Cowboys. I think last week
Dak is back.
I think last week was a fluke. I don't think Dallas is as bad as that game looked.
Their defense is really good.
But until last week, they looked incredible.
They looked like world beaters, and I think the loss of Diggs midweek was, I think that was something that set them back. because he was such a massive. I mean, the way he covered the field.
Defense.
Yeah, he was a huge part of that defense. Like the way he covered the field, the way he would step up on runs, like he did a lot. And it's hard to figure out midway through your game plan for coming into the week how you're going to replace a guy like that. So I think that had
you also just the dudes like that guy goes out on your defense going into a game, like that's going to have some effect on your locker room big time. Like,
oh, this is a dirty comment here. The Cowboys, Nick Chubb, Zeke. Oh, that injury looked disgusting.
It's brutal. Zeke would actually have to get some touches first.
Do you think Zeke even plays?
Not much.
Zeke has been. They've utilized him for some like power downs. Like he comes in and just like pushes the ball forward and picks up 3 or 4 yards. Like he's been good for the game. He's been good for the game plan that they've used him for.
But he's not a featured
what's his name? Stevenson. Stevenson is he's a very good back. Like they just need Zeke to fill a role as the other guy that comes in to carry the ball whenever Stevenson needs a break. So like they're getting what they need out of him. I don't think Zeke is gonna have a phenomenal game by any stretch of the imagination. I think Dallas is probably going to get back to what Dallas had done a couple weeks ago and look really good and probably dominate this game.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, poor Mac Jones, he is going to spend most of the day on his back.
And what do you think about him? Him grabbing Sauce Gardner's nuts.
Say what?
You hear about him grabbing Sauce Gardner's nuts? You hear all that drama this week?
I mean, they're football players. Nuts get
The
grabbed.
only nut grabbing that's acceptable is when you are taking, when you're the quarterback taking a snap and you're going for a silent count.
No, this was like at the edge of a pile, and he like is walking by him and just like grabbed his balls. Apparently.
Balls get grabbed, buttholes get posed.
He shoved Mac Jones. Like he filed a grievance with the league. Like all kinds of shit. It's too much.
What?
If your teammate grabs your balls, you wait until he's not paying attention later.
No, this
is grab his.
No.
This is his teammate. This is opposite team.
Oh,
yeah.
This is Mac Jones grabbing Sauce Gardner's nuts.
Yeah.
So Patriots Jets like. So this is his teammate. This is the dude covering his receiver.
So there wasn't a snap exchange.
You can't grab that guy's balls. Like
yeah, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, that's.
No,
power move. Power move.
It's a power move.
Yeah, you gotta show him his balls. Look,
Mac Daddy out here just grabbing balls.
He's gotta grab the ball. Every down he's gotta grab the balls.
It's his job.
Looking for this. Oh my god.
Oh, let's see who we got next on the docket. I would say this one is not going to be much of a game. We got San Francisco versus Arizona, but maybe Arizona can pull the rabbit out of their ass 2 weeks in a row. I don't personally think so. I think San Francisco is going to just obliterate Arizona. Like they had a good run. They got that big impressive win against Dallas last week. Now it's time to return back to earth and realize, holy shit, we fucking suck.
Yeah, that's the biggest point spread of the week. We got San Francisco minus 14.
Wait, San Francisco's minus 14?
Yeah, they're 2 touchdown favorites.
Oh, 2 touchdown favorites. Okay, I thought you were saying.
Yeah,
I think the
Trey doesn't understand how the numbers work on that whole plus minus thing.
I don't gamble either. Thank you.
Occasionally.
All right. Thursday night show that's just going to be breaking down how odds and stats and
there you go.
Betting works. Did everybody pick that game?
I don't think we need to, but yeah, it's Niners.
Yeah, Niners.
Yeah. And then another one that we probably don't need to pick is the the Sunday night special, which when it was originally scheduled this way, was
I was
probably
excited that.
Yeah, it was expected to be an impressive game. You were going to get Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers, and instead you get Patrick Mahomes versus his mom's newest boyfriend.
Or wife's, newest boyfriend, after the whole, Taylor Swift thing, maybe she's looking in a different direction too.
Kansas City versus the Jets. I think this is a no-brainer. Kansas City.
Yeah, Chiefs roll.
Obviously.
Chiefs.
Yeah,
Chiefs.
And on Monday night, this one could actually be a good game.
That might be fun, yeah.
I don't know if it will, but I think it could. We got Seahawks-Giants, and I think the Seahawks are probably the better team, especially when they utilize Kenneth Walker and all of those receivers with DK and Lockett and their third guy that they also drafted to replace whichever one of them retires first, which Magoo is going to chime in and tell me the name of because I'm drawing a blank on that guy again too.
It's a crazy name. I know who you're talking about, but I don't know how to say it.
Njigba Smith.
Njigba. That's it.
Njigba, please. So, yeah. So, I think with that offense, because Daniel Jones has not seemed to show any legitimate ability to move that offense up and down the field. Is Saquon back this week?
I was just going to ask if he's playing.
I don't think he is.
That's
the whole point that I picked up his backup because
he's listed as questionable.
Say I don't think he's going to be back this week, and if he's not back, then they're definitely fucked.
Yeah,
I don't think that I don't think that Matt Breida's that bad though. It's just I don't think he's at the level of Saquon Barkley.
No, Saquon's he's up there. Yeah, Breida's not that dude.
I think Seattle.
Yeah, I'm taking Seattle.
Seattle. Yep.
Well, that's it for the games this week. That's usually everything. We even did it in less than 3 hours. Fuck you, Jim. See, it's possible. Y'all got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
So anyway, here's my Mr. Mackey impression.
I thought you were doing a Jim impression. That was pretty good, and then you.
You need to ramble for another 3 hours.
I appreciate you guys showing up and doing this.
That was bullshit that the lights went off in that Super Bowl when we were up 28-3.
It was all because of those fucking lights.
Yep, blame the lights.
Some sort of NFL conspiracy theory. So anyway, that'll do it for this week. Thank you guys for showing up and joining me. And this is one of those things that I definitely could not do as a solo show. It would be over and done with quickly just because I need other people to bounce this shit off of. So
and I couldn't do it more. I couldn't do it with that myself either because you guys are able to keep up this stuff more than I am. I get fragments here and there.
Well, it's like I can't watch every game. I watch the games that are either on or the games that interest me, and then I rely on everybody else to have watched the games of, there is very little chance that I'm going to watch any Rams games. So I'm going to need Trey to give me all the Rams updates.
I'm not fond of watching them either. So
I've tried to watch the Red Zone. I don't like watching that. I don't feel like I'm not watching a football game.
I want to watch a game. I
want to watch the whole game. Like it doesn't do it for me at all. I've sat
the
for
whole
the
game
whole
has
early
a story. Like the whole game, every game has a whole story of
even if it's a game I'm not necessarily interested in. Like I'm watching that game. When I'm watching Red Zone, it's just like highlight reels, but not highlights. It's just random chunks of games.
And you can just watch that in the highlights after. Like okay,
let
me see the stuff on Twitter. The post.
If I want to see every touchdown, I can find someone who puts together a mashup of every touchdown from every Sunday. Someone does that every week.
Yeah.
I need to watch the game. So yeah, I only catch. I don't know. I watch 4 games a week or something, whatever I can catch live. But yeah, I'm not watching every matchup.
Well, thanks again, guys, for joining me, and we will be back next weekend to do this whole fun shindig all over again. Maybe with the regular. Actually, I will not be. I won't be back next weekend. I'm off the next 4 weeks. I'll be working, so I will be on the stream. I'll just be in the background down at the bottom where nobody can see me because I'll be running the stream while I sit at my desk and work and
taking his producer credits
and do my job. Yeah. Since the guy who organized this show only happens to show up like a third of the time. Anyway, that'll do it for tonight. We will see everybody next week. I don't know. One of these days I'm going to make an outro for this, but until then, we're just going to end it awkwardly.